So Senator Chuck Grassley dropped a bomb Monday. He released what was a confidential piece of the Horowitz report. Remember, the Horowitz report was put together by Michael Horowitz. It was supposed to be an investigation of how the FBI handled or didn't handle the investigation of Hillary's homebrew server. Well, Grassley had been trying to get his hands on what's called the Clinton Annex of the Horowitz report. The Clinton Annex is really fascinating. It deals with these 5 different thumb drives that the FBI came into possession of either while they were investigating Hillary or before that. These 5 thumb drives, they got them from a source they call T1. The thumb drives contain essentially hacked data, presumably from Hillary's server. And the FBI responded really strangely when they got these. If they were investigating a hacking involving you or me, and they got a bunch of thumb drives with data on it, they would have popped the thumb drives in, looked at them, looked for all kinds of information, tried to figure out what was going on. The FBI responded really differently with these. They popped the thumb drives in, took a peek, and what they saw scared them enough that they pulled them out and didn't even store them at the Hoover building. They stored them at a field office. What they found was some stuff that was less consequential, but still serious. Information on the FBI arrest of a Russian citizen, information on the U.S. government network infrastructure and things like that. But the thing that I think absolutely terrified them, there's a set of emails on there, and it wasn't Hillary Clinton's emails. It was Barack Obama's. That's right. And that was it. Literally, they took a peek at that, they saw that, they pulled the thumb drives out, and decided they weren't going to look at them. So much for everybody's... So much for the law applies to everybody, I guess. So they went to the White House and they said, hey, we've got these drives. We think that they are... Remember, this is during the Hillary investigation. This is when James Comey's FBI was investigating Hillary. Hey, we've got these thumb drives and we think there's information on there about Hillary's, about the homebrew server. And additionally, there's a lot of other scary stuff on there about FBI activities, government infrastructure, and these things. We want to take a look at this thing, but we're concerned because there's stuff for Obama on there. And the White House would not give them permission to do it. Literally wouldn't give them permission to do it. White House special counsel, I've got all of this pulled up here. It's Western Journal has the document. We're working on it throughout the day. Hang on, I'm going to give you his name. Eagleston. Where's your first name? Eagleston. There you are, White House counsel W. Neil Eagleston, or Eggleston. Eggleston, maybe. He did not want them to do it. He wouldn't let them do it. That their proposal for reviewing the thumb drives was overly broad and didn't include sufficient protections for privileged information. Read that as anything Obama didn't want them to have. But they could consider a proposal to do a keyword search. Well, the FBI never even got back with them on that. Now, that's bad enough, but consider this. That was October. So after the Hillary investigation closes, they go back. The FBI goes back to the White House and says, hey, that investigation is closed now, but there was a lot of stuff. It looked, we took a peek at these drives, and there was a lot of stuff in there that looked super concerning from a national security standpoint. Can we take a look at that? And in fact, you know what? We're investigating Russia for you right now. That's what Andrew McCabe was saying. That's why he wanted to look at these again. That's what he took to the White House. I want to look at these because I'm investigating Russia. And you know what the White House told him? What did they want more than anything? The key thing right then was Russia. Build Russia so that you can destroy Trump's first term in office, so that you can essentially destroy the ability of the elected leader of the country to do his job. Russia was what mattered. So McCabe goes to the White House, to Obama in his waning days, and says, hey, now that the stuff's with Hillary's done, let me take a look at these things. There's national security stuff on there. And by the way, I think I can get you some Russia stuff off of these drives. These drives that, and some of your emails on them. Well, how does the White House respond to that? And by White House, you know what we mean. We mean Obama. How do they respond to it? They say, nope, not happening. Sorry, can't do it. So think about that. Again, the most important thing to Obama at this point is Russia. He has to stop Trump. He had the opportunity to get who knows what kind of ammo for Russia. Well, it turns out no ammo because Russia was fake. But at that point, he didn't know for sure. There might have been some kind of a great smoking gun on there. So his choice was, do I mine for this really good Russia gold that I think's on these thumb drives that the FBI thinks is there, but also maybe let them see my emails? Or do I just say, forget it, Russia just is not as important as keeping my emails completely secret? Well, you know which one he picked. Keep those emails secret. So now the question is, we come all the way to this. The question is, what in the world is in those emails that was more important to him than the single most important thing to every leading Democrat, leftist, liberal in the country at that point, destroying Donald J. Trump? Something or some things in those emails was more important to them than destroying Trump. Something was more important to them than TDS. I don't know what that is, but presumably it's sitting there on those thumb drives. If the FBI still actually has them. It's not clear they have them right now. So anyway, like I said, the Western Journal's covering this pretty extensively today. Check it out. The coverage is fantastic. We've got several things on there that go into the details on this. We've also got the document there you can take a look at. We'll be talking more